Hey guys, Kyle here. So, just before the show starts, I wanted to mention our Patreon. You can pay us $1 a month as a thank you, as a tip. You can pay $2 a month to get access to one of our bonus content shows, episodes 2 days early, and a secret Discord chat where all of our Patreon donors get to go and hang out and talk with us directly. Then there's a $5 tier that you can donate to get access to a whole bunch more content. We have multiple bonus episodes on there. So please check it out. Patreon.com/itgetsweird. We don't advertise, we don't make money. So check it out and throw us some money if you think that would be cool. Thanks. Welcome to It Gets Weird, our comedy show where we explore the unusual, the unbelievable, and the unexplained to try and make your world a little weirder. I'm Kyle.
And I'm Niall, and I've had a 10-second clip of a joke parody song from a Documentary Now episode stuck in my head for 3 days.
Yeah.
And I'm going a little bit lunatic.
Going a little crazy. I mean, that'll happen. I'm trying to think of the last thing that got stuck in my head that was something like that. But I've been there.
Yeah. It's just this little clip of it's like the most basic 16-bar blues riff you've ever heard. And the line is just, "Hey miss, can I have a beer and then a couple of beers?" And it made me laugh so hard that it's just been that little line has been swirling in my head for literally watched it Saturday night.
Okay, it's been a little longer.
It's been almost it's been 4 or 5 days total.
Let's see if we can keep that going a whole week, you know?
Yeah, I'm gonna
Is it possible for a person to psychic drive themselves? You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
maybe eventually it's kind of like one of my favorite episodes of Dexter's Lab where he psychic drives himself into. He tries to learn French, ends up only learning omelette du fromage, only thing that he can speak at school. So maybe, I mean, like, we've talked, it's well established that you can, get somebody to become omelette du fromage pilled by doing that to them. But can you do it to yourself in your own head? That's an interesting question. We have our best MK Ultra scientists working on that one. So we'll see. I mean, you can report back by the end of the week to me.
Yeah. Well, if I come back next week and am unable to say anything except, "Hey miss, can I have a beer and then a couple of beers?" Then you'll know that I've entirely lost my mind.
That's okay.
And we'll see if the podcast changes. I think we can make it work.
No, I definitely think we can make it work. Although it's going to be like, if that's the only phrase you can say, it's going to be sort of like an R2D2 situation or a like, I'm trying to think what other characters are like that, where it's just like you can't. They say nonsense or make noises, but other people can just intuitively understand them. That's kind of going to be what it is, where you're just
Han
saying,
and Chewbacca situation.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, now here's an interesting question.
Yeah,
in that relationship between Han and Chewbacca, who do you think among you and me, who's Han and who's Chewbacca? Because I think we kind of got elements of both. But
yeah,
what do you think?
I think you would be. I feel like I would be the Chewbacca in this situation. I'm casting you as Han Solo.
Okay. What? Because I'm a what do they call it? A scoundrel? Or no? Yeah. He says that to It's been a while. He says that to the one.
It's been a while. Yeah. I know it's really more because I think you're the more outgoing one. You're the one that kind of drives things forward.
Sure.
And I kind of ground it when things start to get out of hand.
Okay. So you're the Silent Bob to my Jason Mewes' character, in a way.
Also called Jay. Yes.
Jay. Sorry. Yeah. You don't you don't. Well, no, you speak pretty often on the podcast, but outside of the podcast, you got a Silent Bob thing going, and every time you open your mouth, it's just like pure wisdom flows through you.
Sure. Yeah, we'll call it that. I'm sure most people who've been around me a long time would think, everything that comes out of that person's mouth is pure wisdom for sure.
Yeah. Well, Niall, I have a topic that I kind of prefaced before we started the show by saying I was like, damn, I really want to go to this place now that not just now, but like I got to see a lot of nice photos of this place while researching this episode.
Yeah, I didn't know we were doing vacation scouting as part of the podcast.
It wasn't intentional, but like if we can raise enough Patreon funds to send me here, I would love to, and I would do hey, if I got sent here, I would do everything in my power.
I'm just imagining we have a Patreon goal for a one-way ticket, and then we have to hit a second goal for you to come back. We're like blackmailing the audience.
All I'm saying is I would do everything in my power to try and research different things from this area. So if you want to donate, go to patreon.com/itgetsweird, and we're gonna have the goal of send Kyle to Indonesia.
All right, we're going to Indonesia. Huh?
Indonesia's fucking dope, especially Bali. Bali looks fucking sick, and I'm gonna. So, anyways, I think the last time we actually talked about Indonesia specifically, like we focused up on it, was when we talked about the Jenglot. Do you remember that?
Is that the like mythical death worm? No, that's the Mongolian death worm.
It's the occult blood drinking doll cryptid thing.
Oh shit!
That has hair.
Yeah.
And I just got to thinking. So there's this like, I got to thinking about what's a place I haven't looked at as often as much on the show, and that's Indonesia. So. And Indonesia has so many cryptids and folkloric or mythological beings that are adjacent to other established cryptid things too that I find interesting. So like probably the most famous thing that I'm sure has come up on the show, but there's the orang pendek, which is basically the Indonesian Bigfoot.
Yeah.
But that's not what I'm here to talk about today. Not the orang pendek. Even though I like that guy. I tried to look for a couple that were unique and don't have too much of a relationship to or don't seem to be comparable to a lot of other cryptids or paranormal entities outside of Southeast Asia. And I also did find one that I wanted to bring up that is very comparable to another creature that we've talked about on the show that I thought was interesting. So today we're going to talk about some Indonesian cryptids, mythological creatures, whatever you want to call them. That's what we're here to talk about. So first one up is called the Leyak. The Leyak. Leyak. I've seen it spelled Leak as well, but it's the Leyak.
Okay, so different than Leibach, the German industrial kind of
yes,
band. Yeah, okay,
yes. Although I can't guarantee that there's no relation, because those industrial heavier music types, they really like to dabble in occult practices. And Niall, who's to say that they aren't wielders of Balinese dark magic?
Yeah, there you go.
I mean, I get it. Like they're off in Germany or whatever, but you never know. I mean, the Evil Dead, the Book of the Dead, that was Kandarian, and it's in a fucking, it's in a cabin in the middle of the woods in the United States.
Where?
That's a
man.
Good,
what?
Where was that?
I was gonna say, what state is that in?
Shit, I actually don't remember.
I'm a fake fan. I don't know where the fuck Evil Dead takes place. I want to say it's like I want to say it's like Appalachians or something.
I think Appalachia. Yeah, I think you're right.
But yeah,
but I don't know whether we ever specifically are told.
Email us. I don't know. Tell if you know where the Evil Dead movies
Bruce Campbell
take place.
Email us. Fuck. Why am I forgetting the director?
Do you think we have enough of a draw to get Bruce Campbell on the show?
It's a good question.
He's not like a hard get. Like if
No.
you wave some dollars in his face, he'll show up at basically any sci-fi convention.
That's
even
true.
though he doesn't really like sci-fi.
That's true. Okay, alternative Patreon campaign goal that we would like to hit. Get
Send Bruce Campbell
on the
to
show.
Indonesia. Oh,
I mean, that's cool too.
we're gonna have him do. We're gonna have him do man on the street interviews with the Indonesian people for the podcast.
That would be kind of sick. I mean, who's to say? As I understand it, moving forward, the Evil Dead universe or whatever the fuck it is now is just liable to happen anywhere. You're giving it, to different directors. Who's to say we couldn't give it to an Indonesian director to be like, here's the Evil Dead experience in Indonesia?
Yeah,
could be cool.
Hey, it would be an interesting way to jumpstart the franchise again.
Well, isn't that what they're trying to do at the latest iteration?
Each one since the reboot has had a different director, and it's kind of Sam Raimi is acting as the kind of arbiter of giving it to up and coming horror directors to do their spin on whatever the world is. Like I really like both the Evil Dead reboot and Evil Dead Rise.
I liked it.
I think they're a lot of fun. And I like the franchise.
I think looking outside of the United States could be an interesting way to go with something like that. Get an Indonesian flavor into the Evil Dead. This shit I'm about to read to you is perfect for that. Because the Layak, it's particular to Bali. And like I said, Bali looks fucking sick. I want to go. And there's actually a good chunk on what the Layak is and where it comes from this Now Bali online magazine. So the Layak is a witch, basically. It's a... So they specifically...
I almost pulled an Indonesian director off the top of my head. The guy that's taking over the Nobody franchise, Timo Tjahjanto, is an Indonesian film director. So get that guy on the phone. I was like, there's no way I'm actually pulling one off the top of my head, and then I did. So I just anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, let's do it.
I got too excited by myself there.
No, you're good. And I do apologize because I am not going to pronounce this stuff very well. I wasn't able to find pronunciation guides for all of these things. So there's this study of Balinese sorcery called Ajian Panglayakan. And the idea is that there is the Niskala, the unseen world, which I sort of get the impression that magic and sorcery is this interaction with the unseen world, and that these supernatural entities can sort of reside in this unseen world. There's something called the Lontar, the palm leaf manuscript, on Aji Panglayakan, which they translate here as Layak teachings. And this is a practice that can provide you with a bunch of different powers. You have to utilize specific mantras, rituals, and prayers to get these powers, but it's believed that if you follow these teachings, you can become a powerful sorcerer of sorts. So with the mastery of supernatural or the unseen forces, like I mentioned, the Niskala, you can become an adept, like spellcaster, basically. Like, and I got the impression that a lot of this stuff is like so many things. You can wield this sorcery for good or evil. The priests and the shamans who take part in these magical practices, this sorcery, are called Balian. And they can do a lot of different things. So I think we even talked about in the Jenglot story about how there's this mythology or folklore around charms, and how you can protect yourself from curses, things like the Jenglot being used against you using charms. So Balians, these priests, will sometimes be called upon to provide charms. They can act as mediums. They can perform rituals and prayers and heal you. But if this stuff is misused, you can become a dark sorcerer. So it's all about intent at the end of the day. And this is the left-handed magic of the Balian, and that's where you get the name Leak, is the left-handed magic user. Now, it just briefly mentions in this article that there's 35 different kinds of Leak, but it doesn't really go into what the 35 different kinds are too specifically. But it does remind me of the Jenglot, because you can curse people, you can, cause them to become sick or have an accident, or you can even kill people. And it's usually like the one that I found the most fucked up that the Leak is said to be able to use is they can summon or manifest objects inside of your body that will cause horrific pain and sometimes death.
Yeah, like any object, like even if you stick a quarter in there, it's gonna do some damage.
It's gonna do something to you. But supposedly the Leak is able to manifest nails inside your body, in your stomach. Whereas oppositionally, maybe a good sorcerer is going to manifest like a tasty burger in your stomach.
Maybe some Tums after you've overindulged,
Yeah, or Tums after you've had too many nails. Yeah. But yeah, the nails, I actually went on, this is not totally related, but I've been...
sorry. The idea that someone who is able to like manifest like anything and like do it, I find the mundane use of very intense power so funny.
Yeah.
The idea that like someone who could do this shit would just be like, oh, you have a tummy ache. And they just like, they like absorb, like fucking put Tums directly in your stomach and that's it. Is really funny to me.
Manifest some Pepto-Bismol so that your stomach ache kind of dissipates. Yeah. I mean,
they just like give you some NyQuil directly in your stomach when you want to go to sleep. Like
it is funny. I agree. It also makes a lot of sense when you think about how some of this stuff is a way to explain illness and things like that. And that there's like this idea of control of that illness through like medicine or whatever,
Yeah.
And so it is like mundane, the idea of like taking it to that extreme of like, oh, you're manifesting Pepto-Bismol inside of somebody. But like, because of the origins of this stuff having this like mystical aspect to it, I don't know. It makes sense. I don't know exactly where I'm going with that.
Yeah.
Do you kind of follow my line of thought there where it's like, it is mundane in a way to be like, because like, I think a lot of the times when you're talking about a priest who's like sent to heal somebody, they're like providing medicine. And that is sort of a form of sorcery, historically speaking. So I don't know.
Science and magic are only distinguished by knowledge, not by like actual act. Sure.
Yeah. I went on a total side thing that I've been curious about, and maybe I'll bring this up on an episode sometime, but I found that there is, do you remember in Pokemon how ghost Pokemon could like hammer a nail into themselves when they use the ability Curse?
No, I don't.
Oh, okay. So there's a Pokemon move called Curse where a nail goes inside the Pokemon and it cuts their HP in half. And then I think it does, I don't remember exactly what its effect is against the opponent Pokemon, but whenever I would like encounter a ghost Pokemon as a kid and see it nail itself with the Curse, it always creeped me out. And I didn't understand what that was about. Fast forward years later, and I see the same thing being repeated in anime, and it turns out that there is there's like a pretty famous story of curses in Japan that has to do with like nailing these pieces of paper to trees, and then eventually I think it becomes these like little straw effigies that they nail to curse people. And I don't know. It was just interesting, and the nails manifesting inside of the body was sort of an interesting. I don't know if there's actual connective tissue, but that's where my mind went. Anyways, so because you can hire a priest to do good stuff like heal people and pray for people, you can actually also hire a Leak to do bad shit. So It says here that you can call upon them if you are, quote, hoping to inflict hardship on business rivals, cheating spouses, a grudge, and so on. So you can get a layak to do bad shit on your behalf. Now this next part is the thing that I think is the most well-known image of a layak, even though I think it's coming from a different place. Layak are infamous for being able to transform. So yes, they sometimes are humans, but they can take on a bunch of different forms, and their most infamous form is the headless floating body with its guts trailing out.
Oh, okay.
So it can be animals, it can be humans, it can be objects, it can be fireballs, but it can also be this head that's decapitated that just has guts flowing from it.
Yeah, so it can either be like, human, animal, or like a horror fucking tableau. Like it's one of these things is not quite like the others,
It takes on a bunch of different forms, and yes, the most common one and also the most fucked up one is the severed head that has its guts out.
Yeah.
But the thing that you'll always find about the layak is that there is a manifestation of it as Rangda, who is the queen of the layaks, and they describe her as having a long tongue, sharp fangs, and a horrifying visage. So she looks terrifying. She's got this super long tongue, and like these like curved. You can honestly kind of compare it to an oni in Japanese mythology.
Okay, not to derail us entirely here,
yes,
but so for a long time there's been since college I've listened to this band called Rangda, and I never knew what the origin of this name was. It's the guitarist who was in Sun City Girls, if I remember correctly, and some other people doing like freak psych rock, and it fucking rules. Like their first record that is like, it's like the name, and it's like roots down into this like pink and purple ground. I forget what it's called, is legitimately one of like the albums I've listened to most on vinyl in my entire life.
Oh shit! Okay.
It
rules.
I
think I remember that. Oh my god!
Yeah,
I didn't make that connection.
They're fantastic. They're on Spotify. Go listen to Rangda. And like wear headphones, and if you ever if it's legal and you imbibe, it's a very good record to be elevated while listening to. And
I recommend turning on at the same time you start the album. Turn on The Wizard of Oz.
Sure.
See if that does anything. It might not match up.
No, dude. It's sorry. This Rangda lines up with The Wiz.
Okay.
you forgot. It's Dark Side of the Moon and The Wizard of Oz.
Okay.
And then Rangda and The Wiz.
Hey, somebody out there actually do that and let us know.
Or it might be Oz the Great and Powerful. I honestly forget. It's one of those.
It's one of those. Try both. Try both.
Sam Raimi's failure.
Yeah, try both and be absolutely blasted on the marijuana the whole time. If you can legally do that, or if you can, it doesn't have to be legal.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not a cop. Who gives a shit?
Yeah, who gives a shit? I won't be there.
Yeah.
So yeah, Rangda, Queen of the Layaks. Now you know where that comes from. I didn't make that connection at all. But she's a scary. Yeah. I mean, she's like a demon. Lord. I literally listened to that band last week. Hell yeah,
extensively.
So if you are susceptible to Layak attack in a couple different states, especially, like they can attack anybody, but if you're injured or weak or sick, those are the times when you will be most vulnerable to a Layak attack, which sort of, again, makes me think of like how these stories are explanations for, illness and things like that. But the one that's fucked up, the most infamous thing with the Layak is that pregnant women or women who have just given birth are super vulnerable, and it's especially the child, the infant child is most vulnerable before its 3-month birthday. And apparently the Layak to to like basically for ritualistic purposes and for enhancing their own sorcery, they want the blood of the young. So there are these stories and mentions that you'll find online about the Leyak where they like will, I think in one case I read there was this story of a Leyak basically sucking the unborn baby out of a woman.
Jesus.
So
Right.
they're trying to ingest like blood of children, really young children.
Going straight to the source.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Straight from the tap. But I think
Yeah.
again, the idea here almost feels like, it feels like we're trying to kind of have a mythology to explain a miscarriage. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that's kind of what it feels like.
Yeah, like it's these are the times that they're saying the Leyak is most powerful are usually when a human being is most vulnerable.
Yeah.
And like just by science. So like that's when you like when your immune system is fucked up and you can get diseases and stuff, or like after childbirth there's a lot of complications that can come with that. So yeah, that's when those evil witches are most likely to take your blood.
Yeah. I should also mention that there is we'll get to that in a moment. I'm speculating on that stuff. I don't know if there's been research into that, how that functions, but like so many things, I was having trouble finding really excellent English resources on this stuff. And a couple of broken English resources on this stuff. So if anybody knows more about this stuff in general, I guess I would be very curious to know. So Leyak worships Durga, the goddess of death, and they have power levels like a Saiyan, which we'll get to in a minute. But what they'll do is they will sacrifice people and they will like take human body parts and offer them up to the goddess of death. And so they're just these like horrible sorcerers who are just lost to darkness and evil. So they are known to come out during, I wish I had more information on what this means exactly, but they come out late at night, super late at night, and they will also show up more often on specific quote unquote unholy days, which I don't really know when that would be.
What's the opposite of Passover?
I don't know. That's the thing is like I'm not sure what days would be considered unholy in Indonesia, but that's when they're supposed to come out and do a lot of their stuff. So one of the other things that I saw mentioned online a lot that was funny was they described the Leyak as being cannibals. There was an argument online by some people where they were like, you can't call the Leyak cannibals because they're not human anymore and they're not eating other Leyak, they're eating humans. So
okay, they're predators, not cannibals.
Yeah,
sure.
But like I think what they're trying to say is that a Leyak as a dark sorcerer who is a human would also sometimes involve cannibalism.
Okay.
That's how I took it. I can't say that with absolute certainty, but that's how it kind of feels. So not only will they come out on like dark nights, scary nights, unholy nights, but they're also well known for haunting graveyards, and they will even feed on corpses if they have to. Also, I mentioned how they'll transform into animals too. Mm-hmm. And the most common things that I saw associated with the transformation of a Leyak are pigs and flies. So dirty animals, I guess. Like animals associated with like, I don't know, decay, rot,
and
filth.
mess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So so it's during the nighttime that even though they're embodying a human form, the Leyak's head will detach from its body, and that's how it gets that form where it's got the entrails. Its head will come off, and then it'll fly away and leave the body behind and just have these guts hanging
Now,
from
I
it.
don't know if you know this, but does the spine come with, or does that stay with the body?
I think I saw in at least one depiction a spine, but I think it's specifically viscera that's following in its wake. That's like trailing from its decapitated neck. So
Okay.
I don't know whether I don't think it brings bones with it typically. Um, so they like there's a number of ways to supposedly deal with them, but apparently you can call upon a Balian to exercise or like ritualistically perform a seance to dispel Leox. I didn't find a lot of explanation on like, well, how do you deal with a Leoc? How do you fight it? How do you survive the Leoc? And it sounds like you need some positive sorcery in your life, maybe.
Yeah.
Um,
Okay.
so this also another thing that I thought was interesting is like Indonesia is composed of multiple islands, but apparently the Leoc, one of the sources that I was reading said that the Leoc is specific to Bali and its powers do not work outside of Bali. It is a Balinese entity and cannot do Leoc shit outside of Bali, which is interesting. I've never I don't know too many supernatural entities that are just like totally married to a location. But at the same time,
a lot of times they're like there's like what is it, poltergeists that are can be linked
tied
to a location.
Yeah.
Yeah, like so it almost feels like you wonder if there's some commonality in the lore of like where those things come from. You know, that like
Yes.
a spirit that haunts a specific place, or like a thing that is stuck at this specific place, as opposed to attached to the wilderness or whatever the fuck.
Yeah, I don't know. And the thing is, they have different names, obviously, and I bet the lore probably differs a little bit, but both Thailand and Malaysia have similar stories to the Leoc. But I guess, I don't know, maybe the Leoc is just the Bali type of this same entity. I mean, they're demons, basically, so they're demons who I guess were once human. Sorry,
Okay.
I'm saying a lot of stuff that I'm like half convinced is correct. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I wish I had better insight into some of these origins, but I did find, I found this website from this guy calling himself Brother Abdur Rahman, and he has here a history lesson, which is the story of Leoc, and then the magical levels of Leoc, which I didn't find anywhere else, but it's in a little bit of broken English.
Okay.
But this is what he says is the story of the Leoc. He says this: a widow known by the name Kalon Arang, who lived in the village of Gira, had a beautiful daughter named Ranta Mangali. She was known to not be married because all feared her mother. Unfortunately, as said, Ranta Mangali had committed adultery, but the man was too afraid to approach her mother to ask her for her hand. So, just to be clear here, I do believe what they're saying is that this woman, her mother, was a black sorcery user.
Okay.
The entire village feared her mother and her black magic ways. Okay, yeah, there it is. When Ranta Mangali's mother found out about her daughter's adultery, she grew enraged. So with her magic, she caused many deaths in the village. So finds out about her daughter and kills a bunch of people in a fit of rage. It goes on to say that the story about this woman went to the king, who then ordered a group of soldiers to go and punish her. And the soldiers come to the village of Gira, and they find Kalon Orang's home and go inside. They grab her and drag her out of her bed by her hair. And she was so startled and angered by this that, according to the legend, she looked at these soldiers who were dragging her out of her house and burnt them by shooting fire out of her eyes.
Okay.
And then other soldiers that are there, they start to try to run away from her. And it says here, she too shot fireballs at them, killing all but one, who then was sent back to the king to tell him what happened.
Yeah, you got to leave someone alive to tell the story.
Yeah, it's the
Okay.
it's like a slightly it's the head on a pike, but like, a mobile messenger,
Mhm.
It says here that Callan Orang had found out the king was going to try her for murder. She was upset about that, and so she used her magic to cause epidemics throughout the kingdom.
I mean, look, at some point, you have killed a lot of people.
Yeah.
So maybe killing more people wouldn't solve the problem.
Yeah, but if you're just so overtaken by dark magic, maybe that's just the natural I don't really understand how this stuff
Honestly,
works, but
maybe they should have just gotten her a Snickers. Like,
could
that
have
might have solved
Snickers.
everything.
Hey, remember this? Should have had a V8.
No joke. So Jules has taken to drinking V8 energy more regularly than like Monster or whatever. It's her work thing of choice. So we have V8 energy in our house basically at all times. And every time she says it, I just, without saying a word, just go over and bonk her on the head, and she's like, "I'm drinking it." The commercial was that you should have had one.
I'm currently.
The bit is that I consistently do the wrong thing with the commercial and bonk her on the head, and then she just exasperatedly is like, "That's not the joke. What are you doing?" And it makes me laugh every time.
It. Can you imagine how hard an Indonesian Snickers commercial would go, where this woman is just fucking shooting firebolts from her eyes, killing people, just mass slaughtering a bunch of people around her, and her friend comes up and is like, "Hey, you're not yourself when you're hungry," and hands her a Snickers. Could have been good.
And it goes from it literally it cuts from a head with viscera coming out of it. Then it takes a bite and it goes to the other person that handed the Snickers. Then it cuts back and she's just a normal woman again.
Yes,
like you do the full reveal that way. It would be, look, Snickers, get at us. We can do a whole series of mythological creature based Snickers commercials.
Send us to Indonesia.
Exactly. Snickers, get on our Patreon. We'll put the Snickers tier, which will be like the price of plane tickets to Indonesia plus like some walking around money.
Yeah. So according to this person, Callan Orang had written her magic in a book known as Kitab Callan Orang. This book was then found by a man named Mpu Barada, who was said to be the one who conquered Callan Orang. So the guy who beat her finally, after her reign of terror, gets her spellbook. And it says that he secured the book so the magic would not spread, but he didn't know that Callan Orang had students who went to Bali after her death. And they spread the knowledge of Callan Orang's magic, which is now known as Leak. It has been said that her student only went by the information they had remembered, which was about half of Kitab Callan Orang. So the full knowledge of Leak has been lost. Now, this is interesting, and I like this story. I don't know the efficacy of this.
Sure.
But he goes on to explain the different magic levels of Leak. He says there are 3 levels. So most basic level of Leak is level 1. It allows one to transform into a pig, donkey, or dog, or etc. And this level is known as Sellaluk. Level 2, that's mid-level. This lets you transform into birds and animals that can fly. It also gives the additional ability to transform into a certain type of demonic bird, which has poisonous claws, known as the Garudua. According to some individuals, they say that this level also allows one to become a demonic type of a palm tree, Jaka Tungal, that has the ability to release a horrendous poisonous odor. I saw this one online, and I was like, I'll save that for a crypto herbology or whatever. Another one of those. So level 3, this is the final and most powerful level of Leak. It's said that level 3 Leak practitioners have mastered all 7 of his chakras, has devoted a large amount of worship and practice to Leak and Durga, the queen of death. At this level, the practitioner has the ability to transform into a large tower, which moves. This is written strangely. It says the practitioner can transform into a large tower, which moves that consist of 21 steps, and each step is engulfed in flames. The tower is full of dead bodies, and anything around it is turned to ash. This tower is known to be called a Bade. So
Hmm.
for what I guess God, I wish I could tell you more, but this is what he says. Uh, Many Layak rituals take place in the cemetery. Use of a human remain is a part of Layak magic, and it has been stated that when a human has transformed into any Layak stage, they feed on anything that is dead, ranging from human corpses to dead animals. So that's the Layak. It has been. So one of the things that I thought was kind of interesting online is that people suggest that the physical description of the Layak, where it has the almost Oni looking face with the sort of tusk like sharp teeth, the super long tongue, the bulging eyes. Some people believe that maybe the physical description of the Layak could come from the sun bear. This is a real type of bear, and if you look up pictures of it, you can find some pictures of sun bears where they have these big wrinkly foreheads, their eyes are kind of googly, it has big bared fangs, and it has this absurdly long tongue.
Okay.
So
I've seen these things.
It tracks, but I just saw people mention that online. I can't tell you anything beyond that. Whether there's any truth to this in history or whatever, don't know. So that's the Layak.
Okay.
It's sort of like, it's one of those things where it straddles this line of supernatural to almost cryptid, because like you can find some stories of people saying like, I had an encounter with a Layak and it's like a humanoid creature.
Yeah.
But it's also
Shapeshifter
this.
and
Yeah. So it sort of straddles that line. And so does this next one.
Okay.
This is Banaspati. This is the legendary fireball ghost. It is called Banaspati. I think I've also seen it written as Vanaspati. I found actually a little paper on this subject titled "The Fireball Ghosts in Three Major Countries of Southeast Asia Culture." So, like I kind of mentioned before, a lot of these stories and legends, you can find permutations on the same idea in a lot of different places in Southeast Asia. But in particular, this paper's talking about Malaysia and Thailand. So the Layak too is like that. And so I mentioned how I think people would be, if you're familiar with the image of the Layak as this disembodied head with guts trailing from it, I think most people will know that from the story of the Penanggalan. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, but it's a floating disembodied head of a woman with her organs hanging from her neck. But that's Malaysian. And I do believe there's an infamous Malaysian horror film about this entity, the Penanggalan.
Okay.
Or maybe Penanggalan. That might be actually more accurate. But so there are permutations on this idea throughout Southeast Asia. Now, that's same with the Banaspati. So Malaysia has the Polong fireball ghost, and Thailand has something called Bong Phai Phayanak, which it's translated here as the dragon fireballs. So I think you can kind of guess at what Banaspati is. This thing specifically seems to come from Java. And it's a supernatural being or even a ghost, a spirit. And this spirit takes the form of a huge fireball, basically. It's believed that this creature, the idea of it came from the Majapahit kingdom era. And that is, again, another creature or supernatural being that is born of black magic. Now, a Banaspati can be just this big fireball, right? But it's also said that the Banaspati can appear as a fireman. In fact, I think some places sort of describe it as a humanoid fire elemental entity. It reminded me of, oh shit, didn't you talk about a world of elementals that like sits parallel to the real world? This was a while ago, but I don't remember
I forget what they're called.
This was a while back,
Yeah.
but
Look, you can't. It's hard to remember everything you covered in
no, I know,
456 episodes. I vaguely remember that.
I mean, I do that shit all the time. I have a topic that I've been keeping in my back pocket because I keep getting nervous that we've already talked about things related to it, and I keep picking through episodes to make sure we haven't.
The number of times I go in our feed and just search words related to a thing that I'm doing to try to see what episodes are close to it is a weekly occurrence.
Yeah. Well, this reminded me of the elementals that you talked about probably like a couple months back. Okay. So yeah, the Bonespati, it can come in the form of like, it's like a human body, but the body is just engulfed in flames.
Okay.
Now, what it says here that even though it has a human-like body, Bonespati is a fireman who walks with his two hands. Bonespati, in the form of a fireman, has a long flame and big eyes. And supposedly, this creature, this entity, will chase humans and burn them to death.
So when you said walking on its two arms, do you mean like it's dragging itself
hands.
or hands?
I think it's I don't know actually.
It's like walking. It's like handstand walking.
I think so. Yeah.
Okay.
I think so. So the paper says that this thing is also a part of the culture in Indonesia. It's depicted. This actually is true for for basically everything we're going to talk about in this episode, except for maybe one of them. It's depicted heavily in a lot of different architecture and temples, specifically in Java. It's actually, I do believe that there are these masks of Leok that also get depicted in pieces of like art in the form of a mask and hung up in places.
Okay.
So these things make a lot of appearances in art, but this one specifically, the Bonespati, is in Javanese temples. And the way it's depicted in the Java temples is as a giant-headed frog. And the Bonespati reliefs are specifically engraved at in front of these sacred rooms. And apparently what this is meant to do is to deter against evil influences that could come from outside that could potentially destroy the temple. I actually, not to go back to Japan too much here, but like it's where my mind goes, because there is also, if I remember correctly, a yokai that has a very similar thing going on, where it's like it reminds, I guess what I'm saying is it reminds me of the flaming head yokai. Do you remember that one? I forget what it's called. But it has like a similar vibe to me. Okay. So the reason I make that connection is that it's described occasionally as having the head of a giant kala. Now when I looked into kala, the only thing I could find is that it's just mentioned here in the paper, but I found a thing saying that kala is a decorative motif or an ornament that's that's like carved into temples, and that the kala is the shape of like just a giant head.
Okay.
So the kala depiction of the thing just shows it as a giant head that's engulfed in flames, and it has beard and hair. And again, that just feels very similar to the yokai whose name I completely forgot, to be honest. But if you, some of you might know what I'm talking about. There is a yokai creature that is just like a floating head engulfed in flames. Now, they draw a connection here to something called Kirtimuka or Mahakala, which is also a Javanese thing and is also referred to as Bonespati. And so in East Java specifically, there's the Kirtimuka, which is probably also Bonespati, the same thing. And this seems to come from ancient Indian mythology, where Kirtimuka is a giant monster that, quote, rises and jumps between Shiva's eyebrows when the god is angry. And it's a being that is made out of the fire of anger. So it manifests from like human anger as fire. It's said that he's never satisfied and always hungry, and he was created to devour the demon Rahu, who is the messenger of the king of giants. So this is pulling from Indian mythology, but what they're saying is that there is a Banaspati with a different name in Eastern Java, and Kirtimukha is like the legend behind it, supposedly. So
Okay.
This also seems to be present in some Indian mythology as well. So when it gets to the more I don't know, cryptozoological, or I guess more folkloric side of things, there are descriptions of this entity. Because some descriptions, beyond just being a humanoid engulfed in flames, will describe it as a humanoid with red skin and sharp horns. And people online are like, okay, so you're just that's like the popular depiction of the devil, in like a Western culture.
Which, like, hey, that's also mostly made up. Like, just
yeah. There's another version of this where it's called, and I wish I had more information, but it's called a kemamang. There's another version of it called a kemamang, which is, I guess, also a type of Banaspati, but this version of it is a skull that floats around with fireballs that hover around it, which again has a yokai adjacent thing going on there. But what I think is notable is that they can also just appear as like a floating thing of fire, like a floating orb of fire, which to me makes me kind of think of like swamp gases and things like that. I have no idea if there's been any research into like connecting that idea to Banaspati, but I don't know, just a thought I had. So supposedly this thing hides in the dark. Specifically, it's in like very rural areas, forests and fields. And it scares people who go by. And supposedly, this creature, being that its mythological origins seem to come from being an entity born as the fire of anger, it also feeds on the anger of its victims. So it's said that it'll basically hang out in a tree, and then if like a local or a traveler goes by, it'll come down and scare the shit out of them and freak them out to feed on them in their resulting like panic and fear and negative emotions, basically.
I feel like we've had a couple other things that like hang out up in trees and wait for people to come so they can like scare them. I love that as an idea, where it's just like you're walking along a dusty trail or whatever,
and the floating skull of fire approaches you.
Yeah, like you're just out minding your own business, and then bam, you're in like a fucking wild ass situation. It's fun.
Yeah, and then it rage baits you, so it can feed off of your anger. It's so annoying.
Yeah, fucking trolls.
So, yeah, I guess. So one of the things that I read was that it's not uncommon in certain Indonesian villages where people will just work super late in the fields until dark. And then they'll be walking home and it'll be super dark out. And that's when this thing is like looking for you to try and scare you. But there's also a warning here saying that the Banaspati is very dangerous because it can basically shoot fireballs and burn anything it wants. So what you're told to do if you encounter a Banaspati, it says run to the closest mushala or small mosque, and you have to pray while you're running. So pray all the way to the mosque, and then inside the mosque pray some more. That thing will go away. But I also found that there is a thing saying that you can potentially dodge them by jumping into a body of water and hiding under the water until it leaves. Which makes sense. It's a fire entity.
Yeah. Tried and true to deal with fire. Use water. You got to know your elemental chart.
Yeah,
you know?
Yes. Yeah.
What's weak to what's strong to what, and you can figure it out.
Exactly. So I did find linked to stories of this thing that there were videos. So for whatever reason, I think maybe they're just old, I don't know, but there were a lot of YouTube videos that were linked that I could see the thumbnails of like people. It appeared like ghost hunting type videos, but they were like pointing at orbs of fire and stuff. And what it looked to me like they were videos of people supposedly having Banaspati sightings. And I even found one of the videos that wasn't a dead link was a guy who is like gesturing and doing moves next to this tree in a field. And he's like wearing a helmet and he's like doing a bunch of moves and saying stuff. And then he like does like a Kamehameha style move. And you see a fireball like just suddenly appear in the field in front of him. And what I interpreted that was that he was demonstrating the kind of magic that a Banaspati can wield, I think. I can't say that for sure because I have no idea what he was saying. But I was kind of amazed. It was like, yeah, this is apparently linked to the Banaspati in some way. So, yeah, you can maybe wield fire magic. Now, when I looked into this one, I got some of my information from the cryptids wiki, as one is wont to do, to try and track down information on this thing. But I always like to check the comments section, which I love the comments section on the cryptids wiki. So I have two funny comments here that I really like. The first one says, "It's a ghost or supernatural creature, and it exists."
Hey, what more do you need?
What more do you need? It exists. Then another another comment that just says, "It's like an alien ghoul or something?" Question mark. And then the final exchange that I really liked is somebody says, "Ah, good old banana splatty." And people respond to that. One person says, "Banana splatty sounds like a name a wacko Dairy Queen worker would call the last banana split left or something. Ha ha." And there's another exchange of people remarking on banana splatty being funny. And then the final comment just says in all caps, "Hey man, this is not a joke. This entity has killed so many people by burning them." So,
I mean, hey, look, it fucked up if true. But I am gonna laugh at banana splatty.
Banana splatty. I mean, I like it. Banana splatty. It's pretty good. Okay. So the last two I have here for you, I'm gonna they're not as long of stories, but we have something called the Gajah Mina, and the Gajah Mina is an ocean dwelling cryptid in the Indonesian archipelago, and it's supposed to look like a sort of a combination of an elephant and a fish. So it has like a fish body, but like elephant tusks and stuff. Its name, I supposedly just actually means fish elephant. And people, if they make a note here saying, "Don't confuse it with Gajah Laut," which means elephant seal.
Okay, sure.
So this seems to come from Balinese Hindu culture. It's listed as one of the 7 mythological animals known as the Makara. And you can find, I found a lot of examples of this actually, but you can find the Gajah Mina decorated, like put into various decorations in temples, like as an ornament. Lots and lots of Gajah Mina. So it's been around for a very long time. But supposedly there are sightings from coastal village elders. And what they report is that they see a large whale. It has a trunk like an elephant, and it has fur on its body and a pair of tusks in some cases. And usually, you're probably going to know where I'm going with this. The Gajah Mina, when it gets reported as an actual sighting, is a creature that is typically found dead on the coast. And they will go and they will find it, and they will try and collect its body parts, its tusks, its bones, and chunks of fur, supposedly. So there's other little bits and pieces about this thing. It supposedly can reach 20 meters long, which is pretty big. And it gets, of course, Gajah, the elephant part, because it is supposed to have a tusk and a trunk. Now, it gets set. It's said that it also has skin like soft fur, which is interesting. So people will be like, well, if it has soft fur skin, one, that's not very ocean dwelling of it, first of all. But two, that means it's definitely not a whale, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, seeing this thing is sort of equated with bad luck in the fisher culture in the area, supposedly. But do you remember when you talked with me about goobers or whatever whatever the fuck those things are called? The basically coastal wash up unidentified animals.
I do, yeah.
Do you remember how some of them had what people described as fur?
Yes, that was actually like decomposing organs or something that had kind of a fibrous look to it.
Yes. This is what people believe the Gajah-Mina cryptozoological conflation comes from, is that exact same phenomenon. Because there have been a number of different sightings that all tie back to, well, they're not called goobers. They're called
No, I'm trying to remember the name of them.
They're called globster.
Globster. There it is.
There are sightings that you can find. So there's one from 2005, one from 2010, one from 2013. They all are, I think even a 2016 one. They're all these sightings of carcasses that get attributed to Gajah-Mina. And they're all the same fucking kind of story as the globster, which, as we talked about, is probably decomposing like whales and stuff.
Yeah.
But specifically,
and the cartilage and shit was it's whales.
But specifically here, the other thing that could potentially be getting misidentified, even as a corpse, is a dugong.
Oh, sure.
So a dugong would also probably look really fucked up in a decomposed state like that. So that's where this story comes from. And I think it's literally just that we have this mythological creature that's been known since seemingly antiquity. And we see this like horrifying sea elephant creature wash up and die on the... It gets conflated, you know? I think that's where this one comes from, probably. So that's the Gajah-Mina. The last one that I want to bring up is the one that I think looks the most familiar to us, outside of this other one just being basically a globster. We have another one that I was like, this is the same exact idea. This is ular pendek. This is an quote-unquote ophidian creature from Indonesia, and it means short snake. Supposedly, this thing comes from the Nusa Kambangan Island, and it's described as a short snake, short in length, but it has a wide-ass body, like a fat butt.
Yeah. Okay.
Does that sound like anybody you might know?
Short snake, fat ass. This should be ringing a bell, but something is not clicking here.
We talked about the Tsuchinoko in a yokai episode, and the Tsuchinoko is a snake who's like super short, and its midsection is just really wide.
Oh yeah. Okay.
And it's also in Japanese, culture. That's it. So there is just a Tsuchinoko counterpart in Indonesia called ular pendek. Now,
man, if the yokai episode doesn't have like an eye in a butthole, it's really hard to remember all of them.
That's very fair.
The ones that are kind of funny stick with me more than the ones that are just kind of weird.
Yeah, no, I get it. I get it. The Tsuchinoko though is like really famous in Japan. So you should have known, but that's okay.
Fair. Yeah. Hey, I'm a fake fan.
I'm just kidding. So here's something that again I can't say how I can't speak to the efficacy of some of this, but supposedly Nusa Kambangan as an island is very isolated. It has somewhere around 3,000 residents, and it gets called the, quote, Indonesian Alcatraz because it's home to the country's most guarded prisons. And the way the stories are painted about this thing is like it's a jungle island that's just filled with prisons and not a lot of people. So it's pretty isolated. The story goes that they even have to turn on generators when night falls in certain places. And the idea is, again, I can't tell you how real this is, but supposedly the locals claim that every year they will get a bunch of sacks filled with a bunch of different kinds of snakes and just release them onto the island. And the idea here is that supposedly this is meant to prevent prisoners who are escaping, trying to escape the island, which it sounds like a movie plot. It doesn't sound real.
It sounds like I should be turning on the Sci-Fi Channel for Snake Island. Like it's that's
like I said, I can't speak to how true that is, but if there's anybody who, knows the language and can contact us and let us know the truth behind that, I would be very interested to know. So I'm obviously not the first person to describe to say that this thing is like the Tsuchinoko. What the internet says though is the distinction is that typically Ular Pendek is closer in its description to a python, whereas a Tsuchinoko is usually depicted as having like of more viper-like qualities and is actually venomous. So plus the name Ular, the name is similar to Ular Derek, which means rattlesnake. So there's some question of like if the Ular Pendek is like a python, that doesn't really line up to the Tsuchinoko. It would be a different kind of snake. But at the same time, it's still a snake creature that is short and wide. It's the same idea. Yeah. And I think similar to the Tsuchinoko, one of the explanations given for why stories about this thing have persisted is that people maybe saw a snake that had recently eaten and it had like large prey inside it. Because if you've ever seen a snake try and eat something, it will eat things way bigger than it, and then it will just travel slowly down its length. So
yeah, that makes sense. Like it would look a snake that's not crazy long eating a big thing.
Yeah.
You could very easily come up with this description. Yeah, sure.
You'd think that, like, if you didn't know that was just that thing digesting, you might go, that's a fucking weird-ass snake, and I got to write it down.
Mm-hmm.
So, Niall, those are my Indonesian mythological creatures that are kind of cryptozoological, kind of supernatural, kind of all over the place. But I thought they were cool.
Yeah.
And I'm happy I got to share them.
It's nice to take a trip to a place we don't talk about regularly.
I agree.
And look at some shit, because you want to have as much kind of breadth of reference points as possible on a show like this, because it makes it a lot more interesting.
You know what they say? Variety is the spice of cryptid podcasting.
It's really true. Yeah, it can't all be Bigfoots and Nessies out here.
Which God bless you if your entire thing is I just want to focus on Bigfoot. That's fine. But I would also say to you, there are Bigfoot in Indonesia. So maybe instead of being, Appalachian Mountains, country roads, take me home to Bigfoot, go and fucking check out other Bigfoot.
Yeah.
Give it a shot.
Spread it out,
Spread it out and spread it wide for Bigfoot. Is my recommendation this week.
That's the best way to end it. Yeah.
Niall.
Yeah.
Are you ready for a big question or what?
I'm so ready.
Okay.
I was fucking born ready.
Excellent.
And I still will probably make you go first because I won't be able to think of something immediately.
Okay. This is one where it was one of those questions where I was like, I'm not sure if this has been asked before, but even if it has been asked before, it's a question that feels worth asking again. So if
Okay.
this has been asked before on the show, 1, I forgot. 2, don't email me about it. I don't care.
Sure.
So if we were to take a pretty well-known American cryptid and we were to evolve it to have similar but maybe different qualities that are regional from a different part of America, what cryptid would that be? You take it from its original, most classic location and say, here's the regional variant in a different part of the United States.
So you're basically doing like a Lola Pokemon,
Yeah.
or whatever those things are fucking called
yes,
here.
yeah.
Sure. Okay.
Regional variants.
So we gotta make it. Okay. So that's interesting.
I got one for you.
Yeah, go ahead.
I think that the Fresno Nightcrawlers got to get the hell out. We got to get a variant that isn't so hip. Doesn't look like a skateboarder, California girls shit.
Yeah. Sure.
That's over. We take the Fresno Nightcrawler and we get an Indiana variant, technically my home state. Now, you know that those things are going to be growing up in the cornfields of Indiana, and you know that that thing is going to evolve to be a walking sentient pair of overalls.
Okay.
Like farmer style.
I'm imagining because the whole thing with Fresno Nightcrawlers is it's kind of like you cut a person off like at chest.
Yes.
So would the straps of the overalls just dangle in the breeze, or would they have overalls that just go up over the top of the kind of top of the
I am picturing the overall straps as being like appendages that the Indiana variant Nightcrawler could walk through the cornfields and use those appendages to secure its food, which is of course corn, which it then shucks between the two overall strap appendages. That's what I'm picturing.
Yeah.
And maybe the buttons that are on the overall could act as like a can opener for when they secure their other most valuable piece of the most other valuable piece of their diet, which is beer.
Okay.
So having a cold one with some corn. Basically,
yeah,
that's what the Indiana Nightcrawler is all about to me.
And occasionally, it feels like these also could somehow be factored into weird scarecrows as well.
Sure.
It feels like
they crawl
could,
off a scarecrow at night.
Yeah, they sometimes. I feel like there would be a movie where these things there'd be a shot where there's a kind of scarecrow in the background, and then it cuts away and it cuts back,
yeah.
and no longer that scarecrow's gone.
Or you cut to it and it's wearing its overalls, you cut away from it and the overalls are gone and its little scarecrow straw dick and balls are out. Could be kind of fun.
Yeah. Okay. All right, I like that. We can. So we've got kind of a corn-fed Nightcrawler here.
I like that name actually. Can we call it the corn-fed Nightcrawler?
I think that's fantastic. Yeah, we'll go with that. So I've been sitting here thinking about. I've been trying to figure out what a Nessie that lives in Lake Michigan would be
okay.
like. I feel like that's because that would be Michigan. You got your cherries.
Sure.
But it's also like Canada. So there's also Actually, fuck it. My dumb idea was a Nessie that lives in Niagara Falls. Ooh. And it's Canadian. The idea of making a Nessie that can ascend a waterfall is really interesting to me. Yeah. So it's got really powerful flippers and stuff that can ascend against the power of gravity.
And maybe part of its diet consists of maple syrup to get the energy to do that.
Yeah. And it also it also can throw barrels, because people would like to ride a barrel over Niagara Falls.
Oh, sure.
It kind of just it throws barrels at used barrels at people.
Okay.
I'm just
it plays hockey.
Yeah. Fuck.
And is
I probably shouldn't.
No, go ahead. Are you doing
I was gonna say I'm not trying to. I'm not trying to piss off Canada here. I'm just trying to. The idea of a Nessie that ascends Niagara Falls really tickled me, and
no, I
so I was trying to stick with that because there you've got kind of this thing can be the commonality between America and Canada,
like a liaison.
because Niagara Falls is right on the
That's
border.
true.
So you got kind of like upstate New York energy, but also Canada energy. And I think that's beautiful.
No, that is beautiful. I'm joking. I love Canada. I want to. What's a weeaboo butt for Canada? Because that's me.
Yeah.
If you'll have me, Canada, I want to get the hell out of here.
Yeah. That's a good question.
But
do you want to go to like French Canada, or do you want to go to? Okay. All right.
No, not French Canada. Sorry, that's just not my style.
Not your bag.
No.
Okay. I want to go where I want to go wherever that fucking Bigfoot war in Canada was.
Oh my god, I forgot about the Bigfoot war. That is a classic. Yeah, I want to go to the Bigfoot.
Yeah.
Fuck, if that's in French Canada, I'll be so pissed off. No. Love and respect to our Canadian listeners. And might I add, sorry about all that. It's out of our control at the moment. I got nothing to do with that.
Maybe telling your congressman about this podcast.
Oh, true.
It would save things.
Hey, let Justin Trudeau know about It Gets Weird.
Yeah.
And maybe,
we'll fix it.
Yeah. Didn't they just elect a new guy?
Probably.
Yeah, I think they did. Tell the new guy who I should know. If I was a smarter, more world-aware person, I'd probably know who that was. But let him know about our podcast, please. If anybody has a direct line to him.
So. I mean, if we're going to do that, let's just get into some business, you know? Yeah. So if you want to follow us on social media, we're still on Twitter at IGW Podcast for now.
You can follow us on Facebook.com/ItGetsWeirdPodcast for now.
And we're on all your favorite podcatchers, hopefully for a long time to come. If you listen to podcasts somewhere, look up It Gets Weird, and we're almost certainly there.
Check us out on Blue Sky, the everything site. Wait, shit, no, that's a different thing. Check us out on Blue Sky at It Gets Weird, the most things site. And follow us there, because that's where I'm kind of trying to move, if possible. We also have twitch.tv/itgetsweird, where Colin and I are playing through Pokemon Fire Red in a Nuzlocke run. If you don't know what those words mean, don't worry about it. Just come check it out. Give us a follow. It's a lot of fun. Email us, itgetsweirdpodcast@gmail.com. I did want to say we had a listener who their partner made some really cool artwork. So I'll probably I got permission from them to share that artwork. We brought it up a couple episodes ago. It's super cool. And I'll share the wonderful cryptid images that they made and link back to the artist's website. So check that out when it goes up on our social media. But if you have any good, I don't know, stories, comments, whatever, hit us up. itgetsweirdpodcast@gmail.com. Great way to contact us and send us your stories. Just don't send us crap. And please let us know how we should address you. And we might read your email on the show if it's good. But the best way to get in contact with us is patreon.com/itgetsweird. We have a $1 tier. That's the tip tier. You're not getting anything out of it. You're just saying, hey, like the show, here's a buck, here's a tip. Thanks for doing what you do. But if you want bonus content and a direct line to me and Niall, I shouldn't describe it as that, but it basically is. We have a $2 tier and a $5 tier. At the $2 tier, Niall and I are watching weird television. We just wrapped Neon Genesis Evangelion and End of Evangelion. People get to vote on what we watch next, which I guess we should put that poll up, huh? I didn't think about that. I'll put that up today. Check that out. It Gets Weird TV every other week. But if you want the most bang for your buck, we have a $5 tier where you get World of Weird, where Niall and I talk about whatever the hell we want to talk about, and it comes out in the off weeks of It Gets Weird TV. So you're getting bonus content every single week, plus an enormous at this point back catalog of bonus episodes about all kinds of shit. So $5, best bang for your buck for sure. Whether you donate to the $2 tier, the $5 tier, you get access to the main show 2 days early on what is it, Friday instead of Sunday. I've really ingested this entire thing, this entire ad section, to the point where I can usually riff it off the top of my dome, but I haven't eaten dinner yet. So you can get your own Patreon feed with the show 2 days early on Friday instead of Sunday. And you get access to the Discord where we're hanging out, chatting with our listeners. That's how you would most directly access us if that is what you want.
Mhm.
It's also the best way to support us is the Patreon. We don't do advertising because that shit sucks and people seem to really appreciate that aspect. And if you appreciate it, we would really appreciate your support. It goes a long way to help us out. But we get it. Times can be tough. Money can be tight. If you can't donate, then the best thing you can do for us is let your friends and family know. Tell your friends, tell your enemies, tell your congressman, tell the Canadian politicians too all about.
Yeah, let's make this
Let's make this
international.
international. Fuck it. Let them all know about It Gets Weird podcast.
All right. Thank you all for listening. Thank you for your continued support for the show. We really do appreciate it. This has been It Gets Weird, and I've been Niall.
And I'm Kyle signing out. Peace.